So this is one of the original shots from today, and I'm just going to play this shot through to let you see this shot here. So let's get you moving here. Kind of playing a little bit slow motion, but overall, like look at your balance. Your arm fell back down. You still had balance, right? So overall, really pretty fluid. I'm going to show you one of the first shots from last year.
I watched it last night quite a bit.
This is one of the first shots from last year. Let's take a look at this one. That's a big difference, isn't it? So good work. Yes. Yeah. So good work on that. Okay. Now, let's go back to this year. And we're going to start to work on timing again. Now, your body has always liked later timing, and it will find ways to trick you into that again. Okay. I think I'm going to show you, you're still a little bit late, but since you're back more, you have more time to complete your swing, which is why your finish is easier. There's something your body's tricking you on. I like your setup position. I wouldn't change that much. Okay. Watch on step one. You start to sneak that ball out on step one. See how your elbow moves? And then watch on step two, you bring it back.
I had a similar problem last year too.
Okay.
Step one.
So we never want to move it on step one. And when the right foot moves forward, we don't want the right elbow coming backward. That makes you late.
Right. I remember that from last year.
Yep. So everything is better, but your body's tricking you back into later timing. Okay. So you're going to go out and down on three. We want you more about there on step two. And as you push, I want you to help with both hands. If when you set up, the left hand should hold some of the weight, and as you push, you're going to help push with the left. If you help with the left, the right arm is more relaxed. If all the weight's in the right arm, there's more tension in the right arm. Okay? So you're still a little bit in front of you on step three. Okay? We would want that ball more about to the back leg, and then you would have less work to do with the upper body at the end. Okay? The other thing we're going to do, we're going to move you back a little bit. See that line on the approach? Yes. Your foot should be more back here before you slide. You don't have much room to slide. Okay? See how the backswing still goes up after that step? That's a sign of being a little bit late. When your foot stops, your ball's still behind you. That ball should be more in between your legs. But if you have not much distance to slide, you have less distance to get your ball in position. So we're going to move you back another 8 inches or so. Okay? Just to give you more room to finish. But your finish is way, way better than last year. Like, way better. Okay? And it's very subtle, but watch, you go out and back. It's that little bobble there. That makes you later.
Does that happen with a lot of people? They're either late or early?
Yeah, the body doesn't forget what it likes to do. And the body can find ways to trick you back into what it likes. I think your game is in a way better position now, though, to push it further.
Yeah.
Than last year. Okay. Has your average come up?
Yes.
Yes, I would imagine.
Years, I bowled 2 leagues, 205 on Friday, 211 on Wednesdays.
Nice. Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, good. So we can definitely work on that. And you can do this at home with a mirror. With a ball, you set up next to your mirror, same setup, 2 steps and stop. No motion on 1, out and down to your waist on 2. So if you watch in the mirror and you have that little out and back, you'll see it. You don't have to feel it. You see it. And bodies can lie. Mirrors and videos can't. Okay? And that little bobble, that's so hard to feel.
It is. It was like that last year, too.
And you work on getting rid of it. And then little by little, your body says, I want that back. And if it comes back all at once, you'd feel it. So it sneaks it back in a tiny bit at a time so you don't even know what's happening. So maybe once a month, hand somebody your phone, have them record from the side to make sure you're doing what you think you're doing. Okay?
I have a tripod for my iPhone.
Oh, good. Perfect. Yep. Excellent.
Like that.
Yeah. I have an extra lens on mine, so I don't have to be so far away. You know, but usually, like if somebody holds an iPhone, if you're on lane, always bowl on the even lane, so then the ball return doesn't hide in your footwork. Somebody would have to be kind of like at the edge of 2 lanes over, and they could get the whole approach in the horizontal. Okay. All right, let's go to back view. From back view, it's harder to see that little bobble with the arm. Okay. So you have to see that from the side. The crossover step, we might work on that a little bit. And we never really wanted crossing over. We just wanted that not to be the way of your swing. In the setup position, we could have a little bit more shape of your body. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show you two people. Yeah, will you move your hip a little bit more left? I'll show you a couple people here. If you're watching his setup position, his head is more over his right leg. Okay. So the right shoulder is a little bit lower, and really how they do that, they move their hip more left. Now, yep, our bodies like to stay balanced, which is a good thing. We fall over all the time. If you stand kind of level and you lean over, you'd fall over. So if you move your hip left and you don't lean over, you'd fall left. So when you move your hip left, what will happen is your upper body will come to the right to help you stay balanced. So you can do that at home with a mirror. And what you want to think is you want the ball to come under your shoulder as it comes back. If you're too centered and level and square, you don't have room to come under your shoulder. So the hip would be a little bit left, the right shoulder goes a little bit right and down, and that creates space under your shoulder. So it's really about more the hip to create the upper body. Right? And you can clearly see his head is not centered. Now, in real life, it is. It's only when he bowls he's not. Okay? If I show you with one of the top women, we'll see the same thing. And especially with her, you'll see how it's more about the hip. See how she's creating an angle, a little spine angle? Because that is outside her shoulder. So then, yep. And you can see with her hair, which we don't have, where her head's lined up. Okay? Now, for you to be in that position, you feel like a pretzel. You feel all twisted. That's why you can do it in the mirror, because it's going to feel way more extreme than it looks. And you remember from last year how exaggerated things felt compared to what they ended up looking like. Absolutely. Mirrors can't lie. Okay? And that would help give you a little bit more space to have the ball come. Okay?
And that will maybe make it the first step.
It can, yes. But even with the same step, you'd have a little bit more space with some spine tilt. Okay? And we never want the step really crossing over. It just has to be less to the right. Oops. Now, this is older video. She doesn't do that anymore. She actually crossed over, passed her other foot. Usually we just want it kind of straight. I'll show you with somebody else. If I go back to Brad, he doesn't really cross over. But it just stays in tighter compared to yours. Goes just a little bit more straight. So you see how your leg is a little bit more in the way. You have less spine tilt, and your step is more in the way. Okay.
I always had trouble trying to get over this.
Yeah.
I was always off balance when I did
Well,
try it.
that's just your body saying, I don't really like what you're doing to me. And your body's not used to it. So even if that came in two boards, you wouldn't really cross over, but they would give you more space. But you see what I mean? Look at his spine tilt. Even with the same step, if you had spine tilt, you'd create more space. So maybe if your body says, I hate that step coming in, maybe your body will give you a little spine tilt to create more space. Okay? All right. This shot here, you fell off a little bit. See how the back foot came up?
Yeah.
That's a sign you pulled harder on that one. Okay? When you're a little bit later on step 3, it's hard not to want to pull to catch up. Okay, so the occasional shot you fall off balance is because you pulled harder. Okay, I think the next shot, I actually recorded 3 shots here from the back. That's one of them. Here's another one. That one there, I thought you stuck a little bit or something. You can see your finish wasn't as fluid. So I did one more, and this is a good finish. Not bad. Okay. And you had a lot more good finishes than bad. Last year you had more bad than good.
Right.
It's hard to have that back foot flip over when you're later.
Right. I made notes of that too.
Yep.
I went to the video and
Yep.
that was
So a lot of the stuff that you don't like at the foul line, harder time flipping the foot over, the occasional imbalance is I think because you're a little bit cramped and you're a little bit late still. Everything better than last year though, by the way. Okay, so that's a really good thing. Okay, and that's why your average is up. And we work on everything behind the foul line, so then everything past the foul line gets better. Most bowlers try to correct what's past the foul line, but they don't correct what's causing what happens, causing that. Okay, and I'm sure you've experienced how other bowlers will tend to judge your motion off your result, but not your motion. We judge the motion off the motion, which is way more logical. This is your release, and your hand position looks really good, so I wouldn't change anything. Think about like a vertical equator on the ball. There's just a hair on the inside of the vertical equator. That's a great position. You maintain that really well. Up. That's still right there. Then you have a little rotation, and the thumb comes out. That release is fine. You have a really good ball roll. Yeah.
it's not like a Daria Payo
Uh
for
huh.
AJ Johnson. Can't do that.
No. And even like you have a more of a hand position of kind of someone like Danielle McEwen. So obviously it doesn't suck, right?
Yeah, it's pretty.
She had a pretty good year this year. Uh, so very similar, actually. We go to one screen here.
I saw the video where she had late timing too with Darren Tang.
Oh yeah, that was funny because they were both there that day. Darren fights being early, she fights being late. So they're listening to what I say to the other person. Like, I never heard that before. I was like, yeah, no shit, basically. And he posted like on the same step, their ball was like 7 balls different or something crazy. That was kind of a funny day, yeah. And that's kind of where you are. A little rotation, and the thumb comes out. Right? So you're fine on that.
So she wrote this a little more around the side a little bit.
It's just about if you think of a face of a clock, the ring finger's down at 6, she goes to about 4. So it's a couple of hours or about 3 inches of motion. Not lift, it's just rotation. Okay. Now somebody like Brad Miller, he'll come from a little bit stronger position.
More inside out.
His hand stays a little bit more in. So that's kind of almost the same as where you are coming back. He just holds it there a little bit longer. So he's more about that 7 o'clock area, as where you and Yale are more 6. He'll go from 7 to about 5. So it's the same actual rotation. He's just coming from a stronger position, which gives him a stronger ball motion. Okay. So if you stayed in there a hair more, you would even have a stronger ball motion. Okay. But I think it's fine the way it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's a lot more rare for sure.
Yes.
Leverage. Timing.
Yeah, exactly right. And this one here is really trying to hook the lane. We're working on kind of sometimes on chores it's a very difficult thing to do, which they make look very easy. Where the hedge hook, the front bar lane hooks like a crazy amount compared to what people are used to. And sometimes the hedge hook, the mid lane gets tight, so they have to be very steep through the front part, like swing it a lot, throw it slow, and hit and kind of hit the crap out of it. which is a super, super complicated thing that a lot of those guys make look easy, and it is not. And we were kind of working on this, where a lot of people they try to hit it more and grab it to kind of shape it more. And we were really working on having a softer hand and a slower ball speed, but a lot of motion. You can kind of see his like really opening up the lane there, and that ball actually came back and hit the pocket. But you see, it's not a forced motion. He years ago he would try to just hit it harder to make it hook more, and try to lift it to make it hook more. You can see he's not lifting at all. It's just rotation. So the ball's on lane right there. So that's kind of a complicated thing. You can see he's sliding probably 33-ish, hitting around 16, probably 17, going out to 4 or 5. Um, that's a tough thing for him to do. So that's actually a really good shot, you know. And you probably would not have to open up that much because you're not in that strong a position. Your rev rate's lower. Right? That's why I think a lot of older guys, now that you're crazy, how old are you now? Yeah, you're still relatively young, but you're not young. So most of us older guys with kind of a regular game, not a super power player, can equate to the top women more than the top men. Like EJ Tackett would be like a foreign language. You don't need to do what he does. You don't have a 600 rev rate, and you never will. So it doesn't matter. You have enough rev rate and a good ball roll to be very, very effective. So we're going to clean up that push rate a little bit. We're going to move you back a little bit more so you have a little bit more room to slide. And like I said, that line on the approach there, now not every bowling center has that. But the bowling centers that do have that, that's a universal size panel. So that's the same distance, that line there. Most guys are going to have their toe kind of on that line to give them enough room to slide. I think you're cramped. Okay. Now, a couple years ago, I worked with Danielle. Now she did something that was kind of stupid last year, and she would admit to it. She bowled all year on a broken toe. She had a broken big toe on her right foot. So that's a push-off foot. So it created some bad habits, and she was about here with her slide left. She should be here. So she couldn't understand, like, why am I not getting the ball through the ball right? She didn't know she was cramped. But her fourth step started getting super big because it kind of hurt. So we had to like really shorten her step and move her back a little bit to give her more room. Um, but I think that's a little bit cramped. So I think if your toe were even here, you would have much more room to slide, and that would help with some of your. Yeah, kind of the toe, kind of right about the line, I think. Okay, so we're gonna move you back a little bit more. All right, let's stop recording. Hey, that, but everything is better than last year, which is really good to see, and that's why I like keeping the old video. Okay.